So about that, the new Jim Crow. I'm not even halfway done with it yet. There is so much information in this book that I wanted to break it down in reviews. That way I don't forget what I want to talk about, because it is a lot of information. If you would like to read along with me, and I think that everyone should read this book, especially black people, but I think everyone could benefit from the information in this book. It's only like $10, $13 on Amazon. You can probably buy it for cheaper. It's really, really good. I'm sure you spend a lot more and a lot less, so go ahead and get it and read it. So I'm just going to give my key points that I took away from the introduction that I thought were very good. She basically lays out everything that she's going to talk about in the book and how the whole process went, and give you a little history behind it, and then basically up until, you know, the year that she wrote the book. Here are the key points that I took away from the introduction of the new Jim Crow. Blacks were never meant to be citizens from the formation of the Union. This is obviously important because of slavery and Jim Crow and racism and discrimination as it exists today. Then there is the idea of color blindness. It's not about race anymore, but if you can label all the black people as criminals or thugs or predators or some type of thing that people should fear, then it makes it easier to discriminate against them. Everyone is against crime. It's legal to discriminate against criminals. So once you go to jail or get arrested and convicted and you have a record, now you are a criminal. And now you can be legally discriminated against. And that includes housing, employment, your voting rights. You can't sit on a jury, you can't receive food stamps, and it affects your education. She also talks about the facade that discrimination is behind us. And this goes into the idea of the color blindness. And this is something that I've always wondered about, because everybody says, oh, you know, it's 2015, it's 2016, you know, we're supposed to be past this. Well, who said that we were supposed to be past it? The war on drugs, which is a big part of the book, happened or was started in 1982, and then the crack epidemic began in 1985. The crack epidemic led for the support for the war on drugs. There was this whole social campaign, I guess, that, you know, really showed people how bad the crack epidemic was. And the face of the crack epidemic was African Americans. So you see all these African Americans that are shown as crackheads, and you have the crack babies, and you have the crack moms and the crack dads, and it basically helped fuel the fire to say, see, yeah, look what's happening to our country, but look what's happening to these people. It's all because of drugs. There's a war on drugs, let's do it. And unfortunately, because the face of the crack epidemic was African Americans, now African Americans are associated with drugs, and since we have the war on drugs, drugs are associated with criminal behavior, and therefore blacks are associated with criminals. And I already talked about the first points earlier. The book talks about how the CIA knew that drugs were coming in and did nothing to stop it. The book also talks about when the war on drugs was started, drug offenses were actually on the decline. So it makes you wonder, well, if they were on the decline, then why was there a war on drugs started? She talks about how whites do drugs more than blacks, but blacks are more likely to be incarcerated for drug offenses. In major cities, more than 80% of African Americans have records, and meaning that they can be legally discriminated against. She talks about how the government controls punishment, how prison does not actually deter crime but has a record of failure. 1/3 of young blacks will go to prison, and more than 1/2 are under government control. There is a zero tolerance policy which funnels the youth from the schools to the prisons. This system that she talks about of institutional racism is built on rationalism. Since we associated our self-image with our class, then when we are not able to elevate to another class, then that obviously affects how we view ourselves. And if you have an entire race of people who have a hard time elevating from either the lower class and middle class and upper class or whatever, then instead of it just affecting one person, then the self-image is affected among the entire race. When you have 80% who have a record and can be legally discriminated against when it comes to employment, housing, school, and other things, then it makes it even harder to progress from one class to the next. Then we have the Obama effect, which is rooted in black exceptionalism. So we have, which some people may see the crabs in a barrel, whatever. So we have, you know, the people like Oprah and, you know, Denzel, Will Smith. We have, you know, all these actors, celebrities, and black people who have made it through, you know, surpassed the racism and discrimination and got, you know, really far in their career. And it's like, well, if they can do it, then you can do it. So all this, you know, the man holding you back and this institutional racism that you're speaking of, well, she got through it, so why can't you do it? She talks about the evolution of the caste system from slavery to Jim Crow to now, and she speaks on how Jim Crow had to evolve and change from the slavery system into something that was a little bit more camouflaged, to where you could still control a population, but it was more acceptable for the people. She talks about how the police have become more militarized, and a lot of SWAT teams are going in to make simple drug arrests, pressuring defendants to plead out and trumping up charges just so that they'll be too scared to do 15 years that they'll plead guilty to maybe a 5 or 8 year plea. After jail, that stigma follows you around. You're always going to be an ex-con, and that stigma is stuck with you. You're said to have paid your debt to society, but as soon as you get out of society, if people know you've been to jail, you're already painted a certain color. She also makes note that with everyone talking about what's legal and what's not legal, we have to remember that slavery was legal once upon a time, and Jim Crow was legal once upon a time. Racism and discrimination was legal. So would it be so far-fetched to believe that there's still remnants in there? The last note I wrote down is about how people who go to jail are usually the degenerates of society, or at least they're labeled as such. Like, society is a family, and we're all trying to work together and just build a better society, community, country, world. Okay. It's like these people, you act bad. You do something bad to another one of your family members. You go get put in timeout, which is jail. Society keeps functioning. Society is fine without you. And if society is fine without you, then who cares? People want to be contributing members to society. That's what you hear, like you're a productive member of society. You contribute to society. You know what I'm saying? So if you get put in jail, you are not valuable to society. And if you're not valuable to society, if society can go on without you, then why should the people who are in power treat you with any such value? Because you bring nothing to society. And when someone places you in that box, or when somebody thinks of you that way, how do you think that there is a system designed to protect people who are considered to not have value? The criminal justice system is to catch bad guys, catch the people who are doing wrong, and in turn get justice for the people who were wronged. But it seems to me like it was set up to catch bad people. So if you have a system that is built to catch or stop bad people from hurting other members of society, and these people who are taken out of society as punishment, and there is no value associated with them, how do you think that system is going to treat them? So I'm only on chapter 2. So you can still catch up and read with me. I'll be doing more videos. I really like, you know, people to read and give their thoughts and ideas. You know, I may interpret things one way and somebody else maybe interpret it a different way. So conversation is great. I don't think I know everything. I don't think I have all the answers. I just read and I interpret and I, you know, perceive it my way. So I would love to have other people to read it with. I think this book is awesome, and I think it'll give us a lot of information as to the world that we're living in the society that we're living in. So thanks for watching, and pick up your book on Amazon. It's only like $10. So alright, thanks for watching, and you can follow me on Instagram or follow me on Periscope. Alright, bye.